I'd like to take a few moments to address an issue that has plagued our nation for over 4 decades and has claimed millions of helpless lives. Our nation has made it legal to murder innocent and unborn babies for convenience and choice of our women. Please choose life and take a stand to protect the life of our unborn. According to WomenCenter.com, nearly half of the pregnancies of American women are unintended, and nearly 4 in 10 of those unintended pregnancies end in abortion. So when you think about it, nearly 25% of all pregnancies in America end in abortion. Here's a little chart. This shows the outcomes of the unintended pregnancies, abortion being 40%, miscarriages are at 13%, and 47% of the pregnant women give birth, which isn't even half of the unintended pregnancies, which is low. And just because the fetuses can't speak doesn't mean it isn't alive. As a Christian, I believe every human being is created with a purpose. The amount of abortions each year is constantly growing, but it can be changed if we share the time to discuss what really happens during an abortion. I know nobody wants to have an unplanned pregnancy, but what would you do if you're in that situation suddenly? What would you do? How would you handle it? Now, with a highly controversial topic such as abortion, I'll share what abortion is, why women choose the route of abortion, why I believe it's wrong, and then we'll offer some alternatives for women if they're ever in that situation. Abortion is the early termination of a pregnancy, which is usually 28 weeks or shorter into the pregnancy. And this is a chart. 62% of the abortions are 9 weeks older or less. 17% are 9 to 10 weeks. 9% are 11 to 12 weeks. 6.5% are 13 to 15. 4% are 16 to 20. And just 1.5% are 21 weeks or older. And that's mainly because that is illegal right now, and we'll share about that later. There's two main types of abortion. One is the medical non-surgical abortions, which are typically pills. There's the Plan B pill that's out now. I'm sure everybody's familiar with that. What it is, I guess, if the girl believes she might have gotten pregnant the night before, they can go get an over-the-counter pill to stop the chances of there being a pregnancy. And that's for any girl 18 or older. They can just walk into the store and purchase that. But there also are real abortion pills, I guess you could say, that women can take up until 7 weeks being pregnant. And what it pretty much does is forces the miscarriage and the baby just dies. So for surgical abortions, we like to divide the pregnancy into 3 trimesters. The first, second, and third trimesters are all 3 months long when talking about abortion procedures. For the first trimester, it's a vacuum aspiration procedure. And clearly what it is, the fetus is, the size of a quarter. So all they do is just enter a tube into the uterus and they just suck it right out of there. And this is a fairly simple procedure, especially compared to the other ones, just mainly because the baby is that small. It's that undeveloped still at that time. And then for the second trimester, we have a defilation and evacuation, which what this is, they enter with forceps to spread it open, get the ovary open, and they enter that suction tube as well, and they take off the legs, then the arms, torso, head, and before you know it, the baby's out of there. And then they go in with a scraper after that and clean out all the remains. It's a little more difficult of a procedure than the first one. But for the third trimester, I won't show the video, it's really disturbing, but for the third trimester, what they do is, this is typically for pregnancies 25 to 28 weeks, which is deep into pregnancy. They enter with those forceps as well. They start pulling out the baby's legs until the whole baby is out of the womb except the head. They enter into the back of the baby's skull with scissors, open up a hole, and suck out the brains until the skull collapsed, and then before you know it, they're gone as well. And it's just really gruesome and hard to believe procedures that go on. And in 1973, there was a very important and controversial Supreme Court decision, Roe versus Wade, which focused on abortion. Roe was a pregnant single woman in Texas, and she brought a lawsuit challenging the constitutionality of the Texas abortion laws. Texas's laws stated that it was a crime to attempt an abortion unless the mother were to die giving birth or there were going to be any health concerns for the mother. So this case got dragged on forever, it felt like, and eventually the Supreme Court had to make a decision. So with those trimesters, the first trimester, the decisions for the abortion are left to the judgment of the doctor. The second trimester, states can promote their interests and intervene if they feel necessary, if the woman should have an abortion for the second trimester or not. And as of right now, all states, it is illegal in all states for a third trimester abortion, but that's not stopping a lot of doctors, and it's still common in the United States, and most people don't even know it's illegal. So it's very disturbing. And since Roe versus Wade in 1973, there have been over 55 million babies that have been aborted. So that's 40 years, 50 million babies. So to put that into perspective, 9/11, 3 million Americans got killed, and that was one of the most tragic events in American history. And 3 million babies get aborted every single day here in the United States, so it's pretty crazy. And most abortions, obviously, as you could think, would occur with teenagers and people with lower income families. The majority of abortions are in the 7 to 10 week range, which is fairly young, fairly small. But the baby still has identifiable arms, legs, they have brain waves, and their fingers and genitals appear, and the child's face begins to actually look like a human being. And these procedures are extremely violent, as you could imagine, and inhumane. And you can read more about the procedures on the National Right to Life.org, NRLC.org. There are many alternatives to abortion, even though many women may feel otherwise. One of the most used alternatives for abortion would be adoption, which is the legal transfer of parental rights and responsibilities to another adult or adults. Many women feel like adoption isn't abandonment like abortion might be, but rather an act of love and responsibility, which I completely agree with. And according to MidlandLifeCenter.org, over 50,000 American women give their kids up for adoption every year, which is a good number, and the number is rising. As it is apparent, abortion seems like a great option for women who were pregnant incidentally, or whether they were raped, whether it was incest. There's a lot of traumatic instances like that. And abortions are obviously higher with the lower income families, like I stated earlier, and single parents as well. And when faced with an unplanned pregnancy, couples usually feel like they have two immediate choices: to move on with the pregnancy or to end it. And that's not very true. But for many, making the choice to have an abortion isn't even an option because they are unable and unwilling to recognize the fact that they are pregnant with a living baby. And I encourage you to stop, take a breath, and think about the options available to you. Often, couples facing an unplanned pregnancy will feel rushed to make a decision that they haven't spent time to explore. Take your time to investigate your options. If you need help ever, there are resources available to you for free all over the country, online, at stores, everywhere. So if you need help, find it. And pro-life. Thank you. Any questions? Nope. Thank you, Joyce.